Hello everyone, Chuckles here. Not nearly as tired as I was yesterday, but still pretty tired, and I've got to get up early once again tomorrow for the final day. So let's get right into it. Day 6. This is day 6. Tomorrow's the last day. Day 6. Met with Sahara-san first thing in the morning. She really wants me to shoot in Miyazaki. She's been talking about all these different locations in her hometown and how they would be perfect for Yoyaku Yokai, and in fact is going to check with her organization to see if there is a grant that could be used to go location scouting. Not a grant for the film's budget overall, but for the purposes of going to Japan and filming certain locations, taking pictures, and starting to map out where the film is actually going to be shot. Not only that, but she told me that she is also connected to a Chinese investor who is funding projects that deal with Asian culture in some way. And she told me to send over more information about the film and what I'm planning to do and the shooting and all of that, which she will then forward to this investor to see if this investor can shoot some funding our way. And I also spoke with someone today who's interested in helping out with equipment rentals and finding the right crew to work with in Japan. But that's contingent upon the budget coming in, that's actually most of the people that I talk to, and this is a good thing to remember for those of you who are going to be getting into this business, especially if you're going to be trying to promote your project in such a way as to get any kind of investor interested in it. The vast majority of them, if they are down with your project, because some of them will be like, yeah, this is not for me, and what have you. I will say that most of the people, if not all of the people that I have actually set up meetings with, have been interested in some way, more or less. Some people way more, some people a decent amount. Most of the people I've talked to have actually been interested in the project. But whether they are, so some won't, but if they are, and they actually are like, oh yeah, I like this, vast majority of them will say to you is, I like this project, I'm down to help you out with it. After you have some funding coming in, which is why that equity is important, why finding that first source, whether it's a high net worth individual, whether it's an entity who's interested in investing in some kind of program, or a Chinese producer looking to throw some money behind a worthy production that portrays Asian culture, something like that. If you have an amount in equity, the next person you talk to, you can say, I've got some equity, even if it's just a little bit. They will think, oh, somebody else is throwing their hat into the ring, I'll throw mine in as well. So it's all about getting that first person. It's kind of like no one wants to be the first, because again, this is a risky business, and so no one wants to be the first person to take that risk. But there always has to be a first person, and when you get that first person, then it becomes infinitely easier to get the next person and the next person and the next person. By the way, gap. Gap is the slice of the pie I was forgetting about when I was talking about the financial pie that is the film funding. Equity, incentives, pre-sales, debt, as in bank loans, and gap, which is basically all the rest left over after everything else has been taken out. So 5 slices. 5 slices. Like I said, the amount of those sections of the pie have changed over time, and change depending on the project. Some projects will be funded primarily through equity. Some of them will be funded primarily through bank loans. Oh, and pre-sales, because I was like, do I know what pre-sales are? I had it pretty much correct. Pre-sales is, I will give you a certain amount of money. I am essentially buying the rights to sell this film. And so the kind of funding that I can potentially get at this point, 3 different sources, will be equity. It comes from entities who will have faith enough in this project that they want to throw their hat in the ring and get us started. But in order to get the other slices of the pie, I am going to need to put forth a different presentation than I have already. It's going to require me talking about the business in ways that I haven't really been doing yet. I've been hopefully, and it seems like I have, been enticing people with the idea of the project itself and the strength of that idea and the visuals and the script and all of that, which is in some cases the most important. But to get the complete package, I'm going to need to start using some serious business jargon, which I have learned recently. And I was starting to put together that kind of a presentation before I came here, but I did not finish it in time. And so I was like, yeah, I'm not going to just put out this like half-written thing. It's like, no, I'm going to focus on the script and the visuals and the ideas, the idea of the story and the passion behind it and all that. I'm going to focus on that at this AFM. And then when I become connected to other interested parties or am told of other avenues to go to for those other sections of the pie, that is when I will, well, because I will have time after I go back from the AFM to actually focus on finishing up that more business-savvy presentation, especially now that I have more of an idea of what I'm actually doing in that regard. But I have to say, one thing I am no longer worried about is location. Because not only was I worried about the budget in general, but specifically, what am I going to do about the location? I know about locations in Japan. I've been there briefly, but how am I going to figure out where to shoot and who do I talk to about shooting there and working with the crew? That's all taken care of once the funding is complete. Because not only have I spoken to Sahara-san, who is the head of Sakura Production and America Aikyo Ogojo Society, but I've also spoken to Sugizaki-san of Tokyo Location Box and Sekine-san of Japan Film Commission, all three of whom have expressed interest in the project, like what I've got so far, want to see more, and are connected to location, crew, tax incentives, very important, investors, even more important. So this was more or less what I expected if I was going to get any interest in the film, which I was very nervous about. If I said we get interest in this film, what will then happen, most likely, is I will have a bunch of interested parties going, okay, we like what you've got, we want to help you. Now let's get into the business aspect of this. Whew. Again, I've not been showing, maybe in the very first episode here, but overall, I have not been showing how excited I was or how nervous I was, because I was really like, even though I didn't have all the business aspect of it down yet, I knew I wanted to make a good impression with the creative side. I wanted to make a good impression with the script, with the visuals, with the outline, with the plan, such as it is already. And I was very nervous. I believe I said this in the previous installment. I've done everything I can to make sure that this project is something that Americans and Japanese people can enjoy, but I don't know if either of them will, and everyone has. Like I said like, oh, a majority when I was talking about before, but I'm trying to put a damper on myself there. No, everyone who I've talked to has been like, this is really cool. They have. So now I need to take what I have learned and apply it to the business side that I have been, again, roughly formulating because I had no idea what any of it was. And we are moving forward, slowly but surely, or maybe quicker, depending on what happens in the next couple of weeks. And that's all I'm going to say at this point, because I need to get to bed, because another early morning tomorrow. Missed the first of, I've gone to both writers' workshops. Writers' workshop today was cool as well. Again, I know it sounds arrogant, and I don't want it to see, because I don't want people to think that I'm just like, oh, well, I already know everything. No, I don't. And it was good. Like, there's still some stuff that but again, in this writer's workshop, like the last one, I'm like, oh yeah, I learned that in screenwriting class. It was still really fun. I met up with Alejandra, again, the Argentinian actress I mentioned. She gave me a flash drive with her name on it. I had not heard of that before. That's an interesting promotion. She's actually working on a documentary Perhaps I will have her in a project in some capacity someday. But I'm going to end it here and go into more detail tomorrow night when I wrap this all up, talk about the whole experience and the final day. And again, I hope that I will remember the other amounts of information that I have learned so that I can regurgitate them into the vlog that I'm going to do when I get back into the vlogs after this. So I missed the first production conference, but I will go to the second one, starting early tomorrow morning. Then I have one more conference after that, and I'm also meeting with a VFX person from India, which I have learned has, like, from what I've gathered, here's another little tidbit I've learned. From everyone who's talked about this, if you got VFX in your film, India and Canada are two of the best places to do it at because they have the best tax incentives specifically for post-production. So I'm going to meet with one of those people. And then with another person who could potentially be either an investor or help me get connected to investors. So all that is coming up, plus the wrap-up. Yeah. All that is coming up, plus the wrap-up. So, for now, good night. Day 6, yay!